Hello and welcome back to Hocus Pocus. Today we are going to be going into more specifics about the 5-paragraph essay. Specifically, I want to cover how to use the generalized outline we covered before to actually write an essay. So, I am probably not going to, fully revise this, fully edit it. I'm probably not going to even completely do each portion, but I would like to at least show the flow path for how to do this, show the flow path for how to use the outline and what a completed portion of each example of a section should be like. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, just as an example topic, I chose red grapes versus white grapes because it's a little bit of a tricky topic because there's not a lot of real room here. There's not a lot of, empirical evidence saying that white grapes are superior to red grapes or vice versa. So, it's also something of a passionless subject. Like, unless you are a grape connoisseur, you're never gonna want to write about this. If you receive this as a prompt in your class, it's you're not gonna be excited to write this paper. So I figured that would be a good example, a good starting point. So our thesis statement, I'm gonna try to say. We have to make our own fun, so I think that it would be within an acceptable range to sort of go a little bit ham on this, so to speak, and not really overkill it. We don't want to go into wrestling heel territory here, but if you can kind of make it fun, interesting, I think I think that's a good move to make. So I'm not gonna go into the hook. We're just gonna be doing like a 2 or 3 sentence introduction. Pretty quick, pretty simple. Now the summary is going to be what we're going to be including in the body paragraphs. Broad strokes, what we're going to be talking about. So what we want here is we want 3 things that we are going to cover in depth. And for this, I'm going to say and let me tell you, research is key. I'm not going to be doing research on this, but let me know in the comments if you want some hints on how to do some research. But this is not a research paper. I cannot be bothered in this case. So, white grapes, how are they better? And actually, for this one, let's see. What would be an interesting third thing for red versus white grapes? We're covering taste. I can probably fit aroma in that. I have some useless information up here that we're going to expand on. Let's see, what else? YOLO. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and combine this into a supporting sentence for the introduction to sort of lead into the body paragraphs. So see, here's a bit of a sticking point. This and this could probably be combined. So I think that I would want to find a better third option. Let's see. What's Well, let me open a new window on the side. Let's look at grape prices. Let's see. Oh, and wouldn't you believe it? The red grapes are often more expensive than the white. So we'll go ahead and toss that in. Let's see, let's tune this around a little bit. I was trying to invest too much into the introduction. You don't want too much information there. Alright. So, body. We'll want to cover taste first because it was listed here first. Okay, so let's see. Alright, so 3 or 4 sentences worth of supporting details. Could also be 2. Sorry, I was kind of on autopilot there for a moment. So what I did was I just covered some brief things that, could work, some perhaps personal opinions here. And then down here, I sort of inserted a little bit of the results that I got from the brief search that I had. Now, if you're doing an actual paper, you're probably going to want to add the actual citations or references, rather than just this kind of brief summary right here. And we could probably cover that later. But after seeing how these two relate, I decided to go ahead and start on the transitional sentence from this paragraph into this one. So all you have to do really is connect one to the other, just to have a good continuous flow of logic in between the paragraphs. So despite these qualities being the things that add to the taste, people often view red grapes' sweetness more favorably. This leads to larger prices for the inferior selection. Let me tell you, spell check is a wonderful thing, but you shouldn't rely on it too much. Okay, so I think that these two are probably fine. I don't think we need to get too in-depth into the economics of grape prices. So let's take a look at so white grapes, more interesting. That's cool. So how can we support that? So when you think of wine and media, as an example, you think red wine. You don't think white wine. When you hear grape juice, you think purple. You don't think green or clear. So the culture has sort of coalesced around red grapes rather than white grapes. White grapes are being sort of kicked to the curb in spite of their superior qualities. So we just need to show that real quick. And how do we show that? I don't know, but by talking about that stuff that I just mentioned. Let's go. All right. Okay, so So, 5-paragraph essays are incredibly versatile in how you're able to write them. Because what they test, what they examine most of all, is whether you are able to engage with your audience properly, whether you're able to communicate with them properly, and it also shows your mastery of language and logical flow. It's often a little less important what supporting details you use unless it is explicitly a data-driven essay. So for this, red grapes versus white grapes, I don't need too much empirical data for it. If you have like a narrative essay as well, like persuasive can be very, I don't know, flexible like that. But if this were more of like an expository piece, or if I were to try to, using the previous example in the last video, if I were to say talk about recycling more, then having more like data-driven portions would be more important. But for red and white grapes, that's you can hand wave that a little bit. Okay, so are grapes citrus? Oh, I don't want Google Shopping anymore. I don't think they're citrus, but I'm going to try for it anyway. Gerat. Okay. Okay. So I have this, and this mostly done. I'm gonna draw those together into paragraphs, and then I'm gonna call it for this one. So, looking back over this, the first part of this sentence sort of clashes with what I'm saying up here. So up here I'm saying that many would agree that red grapes are superior. And I'm also saying that while it's well known that white grapes have better taste, right? So I need to fix that clashing logic within the first paragraph. So while it is well known that white grapes have this superior taste and price, why don't we just cut that out? White grapes have the superior taste and price, but it is little known. Okay. Rather than little known, little considered. People aren't even thinking about this. Okay. So that's fine. Okay, so white grapes taste better. Let's flesh that out a little bit. Let's make that more interesting. So, sorry for going dark there for a moment, but something else to consider is that when you're describing things and when you're writing things, you sort of you don't want to repeat words too much. You want to keep things fresh. You want to use as many synonyms as possible. If you use the exact same sentence layout, if you use the exact same words to describe things, then you'll have trouble keeping your audience's attention. It'll start to get boring. It'll start to drag a little bit. Okay, so that's good. And then let's go over the conclusion. Good. Overtuned is definitely a real word. I am certain of it. Adding a hyphen will turn it into a real word. Okay. Okay, so this is what I was talking about how it's easy to go from an outline into the actual essay. You can actually just go through and make light changes, but all of your information is there. And it's also easier to get and use the information in the outline because you already have slots available for it. So rather than trying to do it all at once by trying to do each aspect of the paper at the same time, you can very easily, very quickly organize it really quick and then just do them one at a time rapid fire. That covers the use of the outline, the generation of a easy 5-paragraph essay. If I do an extension of this topic, I'll instead talk a little bit more about how to boost this outward into larger and longer essays. Like once you start getting into more advanced subjects, the layout becomes a little bit more fluid, but the same lessons that you learn with a 5-paragraph essay are still mostly applicable, and I think that might be interesting to talk about. That being said, if you guys have any questions, if there's anything specific that you would want to talk about, let me know down in the comments, and I will see you next time. This has been Hocus Pocus. You all have a wonderful day.